Hello, everyone. Can you see and hear me? We'll start here in a couple minutes. If you can type something into the chat session, say hi. Let me know that you can see and hear me all right. Then we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Hi, Matthew. And Linda's with us. Also, if you could put where you're from, that'd be cool. So I know. Hello, Keely. Yeah, if you could put where you're at, where you live, just generally. Yeah, cool. That give me a good idea. The geographical locations that we can discuss and how the market is in those areas. We'll get really started here in a couple minutes. Hi, Dio. Cool. So 2 of you from North Carolina. Texas, North Carolina so far. And also, are you in like a city, in a big city area, or are you more rural? And also, any questions you can have, any questions you have, you can start putting those in. We can discuss all that. And if there's a place to, if you're not subscribed yet, cool. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss anything that I post. I'm going to be doing a cool video in the near future about, it's going to be a mock call of an actual client calling in and how I respond to that client. There's so many different like little branches that can go on with the client call, but it'll demonstrate how easy it actually is. I understand it can be scary the first few that you take, but after you do it a few times, you realize that it's actually really simple. So I'm going to show that. But I'm going on vacation tomorrow for a week, and then when I come back, I'll do a video on that. All right, so cool. Any questions? I'm also going to share with you my my phone number. So today, from about noon, until nighttime, I'm going to be at this desk working. So you guys, if anybody has any questions and wants to, hey Jake, has any questions and wants to call me, you can call me this afternoon. I don't like to normally post this because my phone already blows up. Half of it's spam, telemarketers. But okay, I'll talk about that. So here's my phone number: 760-419-4142. That's my cell phone right here. So give me a call this afternoon if you want to chat with me about anything. Cool. All right. So Keely is asking, when getting started, do you suggest a DBA or an LLC? Well, DBA, those are 2 very different things. DBA, doing business as. Different areas require different things. And so you got to check in your area if you can just start up a business, and if you need to get a local city license, and also if you can just start using a name, or do you need to get a DBA? An LLC is actually a completely different thing. That's actually a formation, a business formation or entity type. And I'll talk about that in a second too, why I do not recommend those. But I recommend everybody starts off with just a sole proprietorship, because you want to make sure that this is for you before you spend the money and forming a separate tax entity like an S corp or a partnership or anything, or LLC. Because that's going to require money, and it's also going to require bookkeeping of that company. It's going to require tax returns of that company. If you don't do taxes yourself, then you're going to have to pay somebody to do that. So when you're just starting out, I recommend you just start as a sole proprietor, and unless you're 100% sure that this is your future, then you can incorporate or something. But just it's good to just start off as a sole proprietor. That's just Schedule C on your personal tax return, and then as things start to develop and you realize that this is what you want to do with your life and you're going to be successful at it, then you can think about taking the next step of incorporating something like that. But the little thing about, I don't know why LLCs are so important. Actually, I think it's because attorneys typically push them, basically for lack of knowledge. But a single member LLC, commonly referred to as SMLLC, single member LLC, is not recognized at the federal level. So an LLC is a state entity, and at the federal level, an LLC, a single member LLC, is still a sole proprietorship. So you would have a sole proprietor. If you're a single member LLC, you went through all this work to form this business, and at the federal level, you're still a sole proprietorship. And then you have to do an LLC at the state level. So I do not recommend single member LLCs. Now, multiple member LLCs can be partnerships, and you can request S corp election for that as well. But S corps are good if you're going to incorporate or form a separate business entity. S corps are good if you're in business with somebody, a partnership or an S corp. But I would stay away from single member LLC, because at the federal level, they are not recognized. So you are still a sole proprietorship, even if you're a single member LLC at the federal level. So hopefully that answers that. But a DBA is good. You usually have to go to your county courthouse or something like that to get a DBA. You might be able to do it online where you're at. But if it's necessary, do it. If it's not necessary, I wouldn't do it. But the key thing, the really important things are when you're getting started, and I talk about it in my program, but is, choosing your business name is so important. You want to make sure, one, nobody has it. Nobody in your area has it for sure. You want the domain name, which is the www.whatever.com. You want to make sure you have that. You want to check Yelp, make sure that nobody has it on Yelp, right, Jake? And but you just want to do, you want to be searching several things at once before you decide on the name. Then you want to make sure you snag that domain name, and then set it up in Yelp and all that good stuff. So yeah, S corps are good. Dominic, I have an S corp. My accounting practice is an S corp. I do taxes and bookkeeping. Yeah. So again, the whole incorporating thing. You want to make sure that you're at a level of profit and seriousness and longevity to where it's beneficial to do that, because unless you're doing it all yourself, like the tax returns, and you're setting it up, and there's extra time commitment and also financial commitment to have the taxes done and everything. And then also here in California and some other states have what's called a minimum franchise tax, which is regardless of how profitable you are, or even if you're taking a loss, you're going to pay. Here in California, you're going to pay the state $800 every year. It's called a minimum franchise tax. So just by having, say, an S corp, uh, in California, even if you're running a loss, you're going to be giving California $800 every year just by having that S corp. So you got to check all that out. Make sure that things are going to work out for you before I would get serious about or look at incorporating. Um, yeah, liabilities and stuff. Look into insurance. Insurance is, especially when you're not making a lot of money yet. Insurance is not very expensive if you like having insurance. um, yeah, I've been doing this 20 years, and which is hard to believe. Um, but I have never been sued, never even been you know, threatened. I've never even been threatened. And I can't think of any of my colleagues that have been sued or even threatened. So it is a rare thing. It's not something I would worry about. You do want to, I would never say don't protect yourself, but it's not something I would be even thinking about. So if you want to put some insurance in place, I would, that encourage that, but not something you don't need to be worrying about stuff. I've seen so many messy situations with somebody comes to me with their books and they are a mess, and clients aren't going to. I just haven't seen it where clients would be taking that former bookkeeper to court and saying, "Hey, my books are a mess. This bookkeeper screwed up my books. I want to sue him." So that's just, I would say, very, very rare, and not something you need to really worry about. People, if they have messy books and they want to change bookkeepers, that's common. And what I found is this clients just want the situation fixed and move on in a nice, clean way. So they're not concerned about taking an old bookkeeper that didn't know what they were doing to court. Let's see. Okay, cool. New Jersey's 500, huh? Yeah, I know. I know a lot of states have that now. Um, yeah. Yep. So here's the deal on Yelp. Yelp is good, but you do have to be careful with Yelp. So I've made a ton of money through Yelp and haven't given them 1 cent. However, they do hound me every year, and I block their call. I know where they're calling from, which is I get calls from San Francisco from them, but it's pretty easy to. And then they'll email me, but they're always trying to sell me advertising. I have clients that do advertise with them. They're not bookkeepers. I have a doctor that does it every month. So in different industries, I know a few people that do pay Yelp. I've never paid them. I think some of my competitors do, because I can see that they get a lot more traffic and positioning than I do. But if you're doing good and you have good reviews and there's not a ton of people in your area doing the same thing, and you have a good name and everything else, you do not need to pay for Yelp. I don't recommend you pay for it, but that's your prerogative. But they will give you. Here's another thing to really watch out for. So not only will they call you and hound you to sign up for advertising and pay for advertising, they'll also give you. I've seen where they give $300 of credit. Well, I just recently actually heard another situation where they signed up for that $300 of credit. They thought, oh, here, this should last a while. Well, Yelp burns through it real quickly, and then they start charging you without, unless you really pay attention to it and stay on top of it on a daily basis. You really can't control how much they're there may be a way to control it, probably is, but this individual did not pay attention to it for like a week, and ended up getting them racking up an additional $600 on top of the 300 that the credit. So they ran through $900 of clicks rather quickly. So this person I know, he was upset about that. He complained about it, and then he looked at his traffic analysis, because he tracks his traffic, and it didn't even look like he was getting anything from Yelp. So and then he took him to court, or he disputed it with his credit card, showed proof that in his tracking system that he wasn't even getting anything from Yelp, but Yelp was saying that they did, and they had no proof that they sent him anything. So, who knows all the details on that, but I would just say be very careful with Yelp if you're going to do paid advertising with them, but you don't have to do paid advertising with them. You're just paying for a higher rank, but you don't have to do that. And I've never given Yelp my money, and I've been on there for many years and gotten a lot of business from it. The only advertising, the only money I spend on advertising, period, is, and I don't even do it all the time. Like right now, I don't have an ad up, but on Craigslist, they charge $5 a post now, and they just started that. I think it was earlier this year. So all these years, many years, I've used Craigslist for free. And when I was growing my practice, I was posting all the time. I always had several ads on Craigslist. But now they charge $5 a post. So that's the only advertising money that I've ever spent. Except I think early on, I tried some postcards. This was a long time, probably over 10 years ago. I had some postcards made and mailed those out, and probably didn't get a single call on those. So I learned rather quickly that you don't have to spend money on advertising, thankfully. And there's so many other ways you can do it. There's LinkedIn, which I don't use, but some people do. Just networking. I talked about all that in my program, but just getting yourself out there, having an active life, having hobbies, just having a huge network of people that you know and that you run into all the time. Me and my son have a running joke that every time we leave the house, go anywhere, we run into somebody that we know, either from a school or from yoga or from jujitsu. So, but if you have that makes your life really enriched too. So it makes you a happier person, more productive person. So all those things all come together to make you and help you be successful. Yep. Yeah, so I would definitely get on Yelp. I just wouldn't pay for Yelp. And then when you find out who they're, what they do is they assign you a rep, and that rep will hound you, and then that rep will move on to another job in their lives, and then they'll assign a different rep, and that rep will hound you. And so you gotta, every time they assign a new rep to your account, you'll get hounded until they realize that it's just a dead issue, and they'll stop bothering you. So DL, when you advertise on sites like Craigslist and etc., how do you weed out the fake responses to your ads? I don't get those. I don't get that. If you're getting that, that's weird. Scammers pretending that they're looking for services. I don't know. I mean, many years ago, you would get, or I would get, like, the person from somewhere wanting to run $10 million through me, so that they can cash it or whatever. I don't know. So there was those scams that were running around many years ago, but I don't see that stuff anymore. Um, only really sometimes I get some people that will submit like a blank submission, which I think is just them checking out my system or an accident, but I don't get people trying to scam me. Yeah. So, Linda, that's a really cool trick that I used to do when I was filling my plate uh, with clients. I actually had, so I, in the area I live in, I live on the coast, and all up and down the coast, there's different towns and just in a little inland. And what I did was I I got the domain name, a logo, and a website up for all my surrounding areas, and even some that I just travel to sometimes, and areas that I like. So there was maybe a time when I had 7, 8 different domain names, logos, full websites, all around the area. And so that's a really good trick that you can do. You don't have to just have one name or one website that attracts customers. You can have, I've always had one main one, but I've also advertised in surrounding areas. That's a really good way to get your name out to a wider base um, and attract more. I kind of tried to stick around locally because I wanted to use my phone number, which had my area code on it. So, and what people will notice is if you have a website advertising in an area and you have a zip or a area code that is different from that area, it just doesn't look right. So if I'm in the 760 area code, so I should stick around the 760 area code. And just the very neighboring ones that are different, like 619 and 858, it's really common for those to be interchanged and not odd looking. But and even 800 numbers, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think those are good because it makes you look too big. Like people want a bookkeeper that they can relate to. I mean, there's always, it depends on your market, but I think for the mom and pop businesses that want a bookkeeper that's not in house, that will hire a remote bookkeeper. They want to know, they want to know that you're local. They want to be able to see you once in a while, if possibly. But they want to feel that you're local and that you understand that they like to shop local. I guess I find that most common. Cool. Let's see here. So Jake, it's different prices by cities. Is it? I didn't know that. Ah, interesting. So Jake is saying that some cities have different prices to post. Uh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Well, you can have a DBA as a sole proprietor. Yeah, Google Voice is a good idea. You can get if you have, you don't want to have to change um, your phone number that you've had forever, and if you live in a different area code. So yeah, there are definitely services out there that you can buy, pay a monthly fee for, and some are free. Like Google Voice, I think is free. Um, but you'll get a different phone number and you can just forward it to your cell phone. So that's a really good idea. Well, so Mia, There are other services out there besides Google Voice, but they cost. There may be free ones out there, but I think there's quite a few out there. I think Freedom Voice is one. Um, what is another one? Let me look here real quick. But yeah, there are other services out there that Ring Central. So Freedom Voice, Ring Central, Grasshopper looks like. Yep. So there's a lot out there. I just Googled phone numbers in your area, which isn't the best keywords to search for, but just off the top of my head. So yeah, you can pay there are other ones out there that you can, but they're not free, which I think Google, can somebody confirm that Google Voice is free? I did look into that years ago and it was free at the time, but I don't know if it still is. Okay. Oh wow. Was that so? Jake, you paid $30 in Austin for a Craigslist ad, and was that in the services section under finance? Just want to make sure you're talking apples to apples. Linda, good question. Working from home, would you recommend putting your home address on your business cards? I was thinking to just have my website. Yeah, you don't need an address on your business cards. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it on mine. So no, you don't have to do that. This is what my business cards look like. I never use, and I have a box of these that I never use, but that's what's on mine. Just real simple. Phone number, fax, which I don't have anymore. Email address and website. Yeah, I mean, email address is probably, you don't want people showing up anyways. Even if it was probably your office, you don't want people just showing up. But that's me. So no, you don't have to have you don't have to have any address on your business cards or your website. It does look better to have an address on your website. So what I've had lots of offices. When I say lots, of probably 4 or 5 offices over the years. Every time I did it, I thought it was cool for a little bit. Then I realized I mostly work from home, even with an office. Everybody's different, though. Some people want to get out of the house. Some people are more productive at an office if they go somewhere. But for me, I've always liked to be able to just work from home. And this is my home here, and that's my son's very messy desk. He's 7. I should clean that up. But that's his deal. But what was I saying? Oh, but the office thing. So I've had offices, and they, oh, this is an awesome location, which it was, and I'd get the office set up, and then I'd rarely use it, and I'd say, why am I paying rent for an office that I rarely use? Clients, my clients and my target audience doesn't care if I had an office or not. So, and nowadays I don't even see my clients. I don't see any clients. There's one gentleman that I see once a year. It's for taxes. He's 80. I've known him a long time. He's, I think, 84 now. And I do go see him, and that's because he's a friend. And but I do his taxes. But that's really the only one I can think of that I actually even see anymore. So having an office, it's all up to you. Whether you want the potential foot traffic, it has to be in a good location for that to happen. and that whole thing. But most people don't care if you work out of your home office. And if I had a potential client that did care that I worked out of a home office, then that would not be the type of client that I would want. So, um, but what I was the point that I was trying to get to is that what I do have is a professional office receptionist. So there's, in your area might have one too. It's a professional building. They have a receptionist there. I can get mail there. So I have a actual real mail address. And there's a receptionist there 10 to 2, Monday through Friday. And she's awesome. And clients can drop stuff off and clients can pick stuff up there. I don't have to schedule it. If I have something to give a client, I just take it there in the morning and let them know that it's at the front desk. And the lady that works the front desk, she's so great. And especially during tax season, people drop off paperwork. She'll put it in my mailbox. I'll swing by whenever I am around. It's not far. It's just down the street. It's like 2 miles away. So it's real handy. But that's only $90 a month. I pay $90 a month. And, I live in a really pricey area to live in because I'm on the coast. So $90 a month is really, really cheap for that service. So that's something to consider too. It's like a virtual office. It's sometimes referred to as. So Linda, hopefully that was a good answer for you. Keely, do you recommend getting certs? I used to think certs meant something. Maybe they do to some people, but and the other thing too is I am a CPA, so maybe my answer is different than somebody who's not a CPA. But I think the general public doesn't look for, are you a QuickBooks Pro advisor? And in fact, in the 2000s, there was a string of years there, maybe 4 years. I did one of my dogs yelped. I was a pro advisor for maybe 4 years straight, just seeing what that would do. And I don't think I got a single client through being a QuickBooks Pro advisor, but that may not be true for everybody, and also different areas. So everything, keep in mind, most of the things I talk about can be geographical. Different areas have different ways of doing things. So keep that in mind. But for me, and in my opinion, I think things that come after your name are pretty irrelevant, except CPA. CPA carries a little more weight. But for bookkeeping, I don't think, like for taxes, CPA really is beneficial, I think. But for to be a bookkeeper, people just want to know that you know what you're doing. And that's why I talk about how important really good branding and advertising is. It shows people that you really care about what you're doing. And then if you don't know what you're doing quite yet, over time you will. And that's what really matters. And then everything's kind of a snowball too. Like you start getting Yelp reviews, and the word starts to get out that you do know what you're doing, then things snowball. So I would just really focus on putting your effort into doing the steps to get the clients. The most important thing you could do when starting your business is get that first client. And there's steps to getting there that I talk about in my program, but and those of you that are here that have taken the program, you know what the steps are. It's the branding, it's the advertising, then you get the client. But the most important thing all of your energy should be focused on getting that first client, because when you get that first client, that's when you really start to learn. Every client is different. A lot of them there's a lot of similarity, a lot of overlap, but there's every client is different in some ways, and you learn so much through just actually doing the work. So you want to get from wherever you're at now to getting that first client as quick as possible. That's when the magic starts. Because once you get that first client, you're going to really start to learn at an accelerated rate, and then you're going to be comfortable enough to get that second client and that third client, and then boom, you're right where you want to be. So spending a lot of time on studying for certs and all that stuff is time, in my opinion, that you could be focused on those other areas towards getting that first client. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so so Jake, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, different things on Craigslist are different, but when you're advertising on Craigslist, you're going to want to advertise under the services section, then the financial services section, and then for a particular area. And I've always seen those at $5. So, Evia, what is your target audience? As in mine, I like small business. Well, so being a outside bookkeeper, like a freelance bookkeeper, you're already going to be your clients are already going to be on the smaller side of a business, because big companies have in-house accountants. They don't have outside accountants or bookkeepers. They have somebody inside. So that already takes you down the list of business size. You're going to be more in the mom and pop range of businesses to, depends on what you consider a medium-sized business, but it's going to be on the smaller side of businesses, and that's great. It's good to have lots. In my opinion, it's really good to have lots of small clients, because then if one goes away, you don't feel it. So it's good to have a lot of them, to where, like I said, one goes out of business or something. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. So I don't have a niche that I target. It's more just, now it's just kind of the right fit for me. But in the beginning, I was not as picky as I can be now. So when I first started out, I was taking anything I could get. And I was getting in over my head, and my sleep was suffering from it. And I would literally figure problems out in my sleep, which Jake, taking the CPA exam, probably can relate to that, where you wake up in the middle of the night and have figured something out. It's quite interesting how that works. But, in the beginning, you may or may not want to take things, pretty much anything that comes your way, because you're going to learn from it. You're going to get stressed out from it, which is good, actually. But you're going to be pushing yourself. So in the beginning, kind of don't be afraid you don't want to get too far over your head, because you don't want to provide bad service, and you don't want to upset people. But you could definitely push your comfort zone in the beginning, and then as you start to fill up your plate, or you have enough business, then you can start to be really picky about who you have, and you can kind of weed out who you currently have that you don't quite like. And I talk about different ways to do that, but yeah, you don't have to be so picky in the beginning. Just be careful. I like one of my first scary clients was this big restaurant that I got, and I was in over my head. And I was trying to clean up their books as well as do their books, and so different industries are easier to start. Like service-based industries are the easiest industries to do the books for, because they don't carry product, they don't have cost of goods sold, they don't have inventory, and they just provide a service. So their P&L balance sheets are clean, and They should be clean. And so that's one thing that you can maybe think about is when you talk to a potential client, one of the first things you're going to ask is what industry is this, or what type of business is this? And they tell you, I run 3 restaurants, 3 different locations, blah, blah, blah. That's not a good first client. That's a mess. But if say like a pool service company calls you and say, yeah, and you say, what kind of business are you? And say, oh, I'm a mobile, I go around cleaning pools, and that's excellent type of first business to have. So hopefully that helps. Pricing for, hi Keely, pricing for services. Yep, I have a whole couple videos on that. But personal preference as far as flat rate or hourly, package or not. When I first started and years ago, I was doing an hourly thing, and that was hectic, or not hectic. It was just a pain in the butt to keep track of my hours. Also, clients would get a different bill each month. It's a different amount each month, and sometimes that'll make them happy, and sometimes it'll make them mad. So what I found is flat rating is a really is an all-around win-win situation for everybody. So that's what I've been doing for a lot of years. It's just flat rate things. So every month the client knows exactly how much they're paying. And if it's say it's a new client and there's some cleanup process involved, or cleanup catch up, I will usually give a quote for that. So let's say, in fact, just recently I had one that he needs to have all of 2018 done. So we need to start January of 18 and bring it up to date. So I gave him a quote. This was like a week ago. I gave him a quote from January of 18 through May of 19. So I gave him one solid quote for that. And then I told him how much it would be going forward per month. So I charge my bookkeeping clients on a monthly basis, and it's flat rated. But that's really personal preference. But that's how I do it. Yeah, how to determine that price? That is going to be something that you kind of have to it's a combination of what you can get away with, what's typical in your area, and also how hungry you are. So I would recommend that you don't want to put a number out there that's too low, because it makes it look like you don't really know what you're doing, or you're too desperate. But I would say do some research around your area and see what bookkeepers are charging for just like a monthly small business, how much per month kind of thing. And it's going to be probably $100, $200, that kind of thing. And find out where that range is, and then maybe fall into the lower part of that when you're filling up your plate. Try to fall into the middle to lower range, so that when you do give a quote to somebody, you don't want to go through all this process of getting somebody's attention, getting them on the phone or through an email, and then not get the business simply because of your price. You want to make sure that you get that as you're filling up your plate. Again, and when you're filling up your plate, you want to try to you do things differently than when your plate is full. And then you can be more picky, and you can have higher prices. But when just starting out, set them kind of low, and then they just kind of keep increasing it over time. But Jake, I know you're in California, and I'm in California. I would say on the low end for a small company, and a small company is literally probably 2 hours of bookkeeping per month. I have a lot of those, and those are awesome because you can do them quickly and you can get a decent chunk of change for those. But I would say maybe $150 range for that. Again, this is to Jake, I know lives in California, so different areas you're, you know, maybe only gonna get 75 or something like that. Um, but yeah, a small company for me, I would charge them 200 per month. But again, I live on the coast in California, and cost of living is expensive here, so everybody's used to spending a little more for everything. So I can kind of get away with it. Um, but just I would err on the side of low because you want to get that client, and then the next one you can maybe bump that up a little bit, or get quite a few on your plate, and then start raising for any of the new uh, customers that come in. Maybe charge $25 more than the last one, kind of thing, and see how that goes. And you'll be able to adjust it, and you'll be able to see if you're by the reaction that people have that, that was a little bit more than. You don't want to change everything because of one conversation of one person. But if you start to see a trend of people not liking your prices, then you're definitely charging too much or trying to. All right, let's see. Yeah. So DL, yeah. I mean, again, I think just people like to know, especially if people have been in business and they've had bad bookkeepers in the past who've overcharged them, or they like knowing. People like, in my experience, people like to know how much it's going to be each month. So I think flat rating is for any industry is good. Um, um, I do have one bigger client that I charge on an hourly basis. That's the only one I can think of, and the reason why is because he will often have additional little projects here and there. So I just rough estimate how much time I spend on his account each month when I bill him. But he's a game developer, and I've known him for a long time, and we trust each other. So I don't worry about him having sticker shock when I invoice him sometimes, because he's asked me to do some other things that take time. Yeah, Keely, I think calling around and seeing, however you can find out what other people are charging is a good idea. I'd say if you're in a bigger city, you charge more. If you're more out in the country, you probably have to charge a little less. So certifications for bookkeeping, do you need them? Different areas and different countries, yes. But I usually no. But you definitely want to check your area and see if you need a license or certification to work to be a bookkeeper. But I've found mostly no. So DL, for a new bookkeeping business after getting the first client, how many clients do you recommend he or she have for a one-person office before considering hiring? Yeah, you're gonna you don't need the answer to that question right now, because one, it varies from person to person. I would not have the answer for you on that question. Every year, my plate's very full, especially during tax season. And every single year I say, I'm going to get help this year. I'm going to get help this year. I can't do this all by myself. Every single year. But what happens is I get more and more efficient every year. So I'm able to do more, every year than I was able to do the previous year because I got smarter and working smarter, not harder thing. So there's not a set number on that. Just do as much as you can. And if you get overwhelmed for a consistent long period of time, then I'd say that's time to get some help. But that getting help has its own headaches. You've got to provide that person with work. You're giving part of your money away. So it has to be a point where that you're going to take one step backwards in order to take two steps forward. And here the other thing is I've found I can always do more than I think I can. So even every year I think I'm tapped out, and then no, I can still do it. I struggle through and like, whew, made it. Next year I've got to get some help. The next year comes along and I don't get help, but somehow I make it. So Kevin, you're not a CPA. You don't need to be. Going to school for accounting, that's cool. How can you start bookkeeping now? Well, Bookkeeping Life through our program here. I teach people how to start and grow their own bookkeeping business. So you can email me, steve@bookkeepinglife.com, or call me later. For those that came in late, here's my phone number. You can call me today afternoon my time. So I'm on Pacific time. If you want to call me afternoon today, from about noon until evening, I'll be around. I have a lot of work to do, so I'll be sitting at this very desk doing work today. So, and I'll be answering my call or my phone. So if you want to call me, I can talk to you about it. But that's what I do. The program that I offer is I help people start and grow their own bookkeeping business. So you're in the right place. Just shoot me an email or give me a call later. We can talk about it. So Keely, are there individual services that a bookkeeper could do as add-ons? Yes, absolutely. So you can get into tax. Tax is very lucrative. Some people do payroll. I don't do payroll. There's so many payroll services out there like Gusto or Gusto, however you pronounce it, .com, gusto.com, and you can have payroll for $45 a month, everything included. So any customers that call me and ask about payroll, I always direct them there. Not ADP, not Paychex, but Gusto's, because ADP and Paychex rip people off, and from what I've seen. But like Gusto, you can, if one employee is, I think, $45 a month to have complete payroll, and then it's, I think, an extra. They keep kind of bumping the prices up, but I think it's like an extra $6 per employee. So how can you beat that? Like how are you going to offer a service that can compete with that? Plus, payroll is a huge liability. You have to be around for every payroll. You mess somebody's payroll up, they're going to be upset. You're dealing with people's money. You better be on the ball. There's a lot of different deadlines for state and local, federal, state, local. So payroll, I don't recommend people get into until they fully know what they're doing, and so I wouldn't recommend adding that on. But you could do sales tax returns, business property returns. But I would just start with, start with one thing, the bookkeeping at first, and then you can start adding on after that. Hang on a second here. So Kevin, where are you at in your accounting school? I mean, what classes are you taking? Some of those can be difficult. Are there? So Keely, about getting training for bookkeeping, I offer a program where I help you start and grow your bookkeeping business, and also how to, if you need QuickBooks experience, we have a course for that. So give me a call later today or shoot me an email, steve@bookkeepinglife.com, and I can tell you all about it. But you don't have to go anywhere. You're right where you need to be. Okay, good. So it sounds like you might be over the hump, Kevin, with the accounting. um, so Matthew, when you say, "Can I do bookkeeping abroad in other countries?" You mean for other people in other countries, or if you're traveling? Um, Either way, I'd say yes. I mean, any business anywhere needs bookkeeping. There be some little things that are different, I would assume, but money is money. The currency would be different, but I know QuickBooks has different currencies. So yeah, you can do bookkeeping from anywhere and for anywhere that requires bookkeeping. Yeah, so yeah, definitely. All you need is QuickBooks Online and a computer. Yeah. That's what's so cool about this industry is, especially now with, every year the software gets a little better and the online version gets better. Years ago, I would never recommend anybody touch the QuickBooks Online version, but now it's getting really good, and I do recommend people go down that road because it makes things really easy, and there's so many businesses using it now. So uh, definitely, yeah, you can be anywhere with internet access, and you have your laptop. You can work on your client's book, so it's good for traveling. You stay on top of things. You don't have to come home or come to an office to work. And someday I plan to do that. I plan to spend about 6 months here and 6 months in Costa Rica or something like that. But I have a son now that's in school, so can't do that quite yet. Any other questions, anyone? So again, after noon today, my time, Pacific time, feel free to call me, and we can talk about whatever, especially the people that had questions about the program. People that are already members, you know that you can post in the our private Facebook group. So any questions you have, post them up there, and then anybody that's not a member wants to become a member, you can call me or email me, and I can answer any of your questions this afternoon if you want to give me a call. So Canada, same thing, except I think instead of Craigslist, they have something else, and I can't think of what it is. But they have I think they do have Craigslist, but they also have another system or another website that they use that's like Craigslist that they use. I cannot think of the name of it, but it's just a Google search away. But I would. There's not much that you would change from what I recommend in my program. The same idea. Just probably change Craigslist to something else. Yeah, RC is our logo designer here. So part of the program, he you get a logo and business card design that you can have printed wherever. But he does so good with the logos. RC's the best, and his turnaround time is like a day. So, anyways, all right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up unless anybody has any last minute questions. But again, I'm gonna put my phone number here. Give me a call later, or email me, steve@bookkeepinglife.com. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I learned something. I hope you learned something. Have a great day. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, give me a call. All right. Have a great day. I'm going to go do some yoga. So I won't be back. Like I said, from about noon on, I'll be back sitting right here. All right. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. Till next time.